Hello and happy monstering to everyone! Welcome to My Singing Monsters Live, where it is your one-stop shop for all things monsters, and I am delighted to be joined by not only Monster Handler Matt today, but also the acclaimed Monster Handler Tyson. Welcome!
Stop it.
How is
I'm
everybody
personally
today?
very excited. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to have this triple host My Singing Monsters Live experience. Tyson, thank you so much for joining us. We couldn't afford to not have you on the show after your whirlwind month here with Month of the Mythical.
It's been a busy month, honestly, and I was excited to come on too because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we couldn't wait to hear all about your experiences and to ask you a few questions before we launch into the community questions. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us, and Jen, a pleasure as always.
Absolutely. So, Monster Handler Tyson, the community is dying to know, are you going through a midlife crisis right now?
Well, yeah, so I can see why people are thinking that because, I'm trying a lot of different things all of a sudden. And they're not that they're like failing, but like they're not really going my way. However, to correct one thing, if I were going through a life crisis, it would be a quarter life crisis. Not that old. And no, I'm not going through a life crisis.
It's because you carry yourself with such grandeur, yes. Tyson, that people think that you're older than you are.
I do have a lot of wisdom.
I thought so.
Well, a lot of wisdom passed down from former Monster Handler Eric because he was my confidant. And
well, there
passed
you
down all that wisdom to me. But no,
your monster mentor, if you will.
Yes, but no, I'm not going through
for sure.
a crisis. Honestly, just trying new things. I just want to learn how to do new stuff. We had a lot of new guests in the studio this month.
Yeah, what was the
so
deal?
How did that work?
Yeah, so. Don't think it's really common knowledge here, but we have kind of a monster exchange program at BBB.
Wow.
And usually it's with a lot of monsters we've seen before, and but this month we noticed a lot of new monsters signed up for the exchange program. So yeah, they come to the human world and they kind of help us out with some stuff. They just want to learn from us and just see what we're doing on here. And then in exchange, we send other monster handlers. It's like exchange. So monsters come here, monster handlers go to the monster world, learn some stuff there. So monster handler in training, Allie, is actually right there right now, and she's getting some knowledge for us and doing some research.
The inside.
I certainly hope that I certainly hope that she's fending off all of the epic maws that may be attacking her as they are so often want to do with me.
Yes, we gave her a lot of a warning about some past experiences there, and then it's again, we don't really talk about this program a lot. Bill is always the one organizing it, and he always
busy Bill.
Yeah, Bill. It's honestly every week I just see Bill walk in with a new monster friend with the monster exchange program, and I'm just like, all right.
Now that you mentioned that Bill's involved, that makes a lot of sense to me. He sort of has a certain animal magnetism for some reason. For just being a regular employee at Big Blue Bubble, it's sort of shocking how often Bill is able to commune with monsters. It's shocking to me, actually.
He has a way. He just has a way.
Just a style.
His
a familiarity.
Through the roof.
A familiarity with him. Yes, absolutely.
So, as a little bit of a recap of Month of the Mythical, because you had, like we said, a very busy month.
Yes.
Let's talk about how did it feel to play against a ping pong master, the legend Pong Ping.
It was very tough, and to clarify, and it was very smart of Pong Ping because again, he was in the Monster Exchange program, and they organized a ping pong tournament at BBB, and I won it. Just hate to brag, but then the whole shtick was he wanted to find the best ping pong player in the office, and that was me. And then they beat me so easily, so toughly, and it was a
ruse. It was a ruse.
However,
gosh.
not they were not cocky whatsoever. They have a knack for this sport, but we're not cocky. They were good sportsmanship.
Good. That's important.
Yes, exactly. And they were also giving me tips.
I was gonna say, I bet they had some really great tips on ping pong for you to make you a better player.
They did. It's just I could not deal with that serve, honestly.
Okay.
Now I want to ask about your experience with Rare Flute Fly. Just because obviously I have some background in the dramatic arts as well, and so what was sort of your inspiration there? Like what prompted you to take up the dramatic arts? Like what was learning about like dramatic flair and performance from that monster like?
Well, so when they came to the office, their main shtick was teaching us about dramatic entrances.
Ooh.
And and obviously in the video when I saw them, it was a very dramatic entrance. The lighting was like crazy, like they had a crazy setup. And so I also work in on some of the videos here, and in some of the videos we make, some monsters have some dramatic entrances. One notable one is always Gobbledygord, always just kind of falling in. So I think, it was really cool to get the mindset of how to perfect the dramatic entrance. And so that gave me the confidence to get some acting going, because Monster Handler Matt has some experience. Rare Flute Fly was inspiring me, but then in their fashion, they wanted to have a dramatic entrance while I was about to do my performance.
And they upstaged you.
They did.
They upstaged you. Maybe it wasn't a deliberate act, but sometimes theater people can be a little self-engrossed.
When a Rare Flute Fly is in the room, you're always going to be upstaged. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's like trying to act opposite either a kid or a pet or an animal. You're not going to win. Rare Flute Fly is always going to be the winner.
Yeah, and again, I don't think it was an intentional upstaging. I think it's just they just naturally just have this dramatic flair to them where you just can't
pull focus.
It was my mistake to go in the same room as them, honestly. Because what did I expect?
That's very humble of you to say.
So I would imagine after all of these activities, you must have been very, very tired. And I really want to know, what was your reaction when all you're trying to do is just relax under this beautiful tree at dusk, just enjoy some peace and quiet, and bam, Whizbang comes out of nowhere. What did you feel about that?
Pops in.
Literally.
So my initial, I will be honest. Honesty is, it's a big good virtue. But I was annoyed for a millisecond because, I've had a long couple of weeks, and then there's just a giant,
to bring it down,
a giant bang. But then but it was a very cool way to get introduced into the season of sky painting, and then also just get sorry, I'm
You're
thirsty
good.
right now.
You're good.
But
You've been talking. I feel the same way. I always have to keep my flask of living ocean water here.
Drink water. But no, and get introduced in just like the idea of celebration, and I think Whizbang really embodies that really well, and also again is really good at. I was just wanting to relax, but then they just got me pumped up. Just wanted to celebrate. Everything was going on, and and also great at throwing parties.
I bet. I believe that. Okay, what about when you were sharing your love of architecture? I believe Pong Ping was there. I know Rare Flute Fly was there. You're just trying to share your love for architecture, and then Monculus had to come in and spoil it. I don't think they meant to, but what did you think about that?
No, and so this month's exchange was coming to an end, so we all thought we would go out, and I mentioned in passing to Monster Handler Jen, because she was also there.
I was.
That I saw some cool structures I wanted to show, and so everyone came with me, and then now in terms of Monculus, I would argue is kind of like and it would also argue is a giant kind of structure like being as well, and just kind of wanted to show off It's
Oh,
nice
so
structuring
so
body.
Physique.
Towering
Monculus,
body.
perhaps Monculus misunderstood what you were referring to when you were talking about the beautiful architecture. Monculus,
Yes.
how heartwarming!
I
If
know.
Monculus could be said to
And
have a heart, I
so
don't know if it does.
yeah. So with that, I think Monculus, he was like, "Oh, I should be in front of the camera," and so, but no, we were showing the new crystalline castles that were coming to the magical islands,
Which
is
are very magical indeed.
very magical, very beautiful.
Mhm.
I will also say.
And yes, multicolored.
Yes.
Now, to take a look at all of the crystalline castles that we know of across the monster world, if you were to arrange them all in a row, they might even resemble a rainbow or something like that,
isn't
which
that
obviously
fun?
would be
Yeah.
perfectly apt, I think.
So
Interesting
now,
how the.
oh, that's okay. Now
Yes.
that month of the mythical is coming up to a close, I know the community is very, very excited to hear all about the Cold Island mythical that they were voting
Yes.
on to help create. Do you want to recap what that monster is going to look like when it comes to fruition?
Let's recap it. We'll go down the list. So this is going to be an instrumental monster, which is I'm excited for. I love instrumental monsters.
Who doesn't?
It's going to be brass. A brass instrumental, which is exciting as well. It's going to be a master at it. So,
Top notch.
Not like when I tried to play trumpet in high
No.
school.
No,
I didn't have the right embouchure. It sounded like the last gasping breath of a cat or something.
No. This is like Mozart level
Oh.
mastery.
I don't know if Mozart ever played brass,
Oh,
but knew about brass.
But with brass, not
Yes.
piano.
Yes.
It's going to have 3 or more eyes.
Oh.
So many eyes.
Yes.
Scales, which I was not expecting for a cold monster, but hey, it's a mysterious world out there. Anything can happen. 5+ arms and legs.
Wow.
So,
Lots
lot
of
of
appendages.
A lot of arms and legs.
Yeah. It's going to have cool colors, which I'll admittedly, when I read that first, I thought it was going to be like, oh, those are cool. But no, they're like...
No, Tyson.
Sorry. But no, they're going to be more, bluish.
And
cold,
purplish and greenish. Yes.
greenish colors.
Yes.
And then finally, it's going to have a symbiotic partner with it.
Oh.
I'm
Yes,
very
as soon
excited.
as soon as
it's gonna be
that
interesting.
poll came through, I was thinking, people always love their symbiotic partnerships. They love Playfit and Squat. They love, Hippity and Hop and all the other ones, Spy Trap, all of those monsters that are the combination of 2 different species interacting and cooperating to make music.
Yes.
And who doesn't
Yes.
love to have, 2 monsters? It's like a couple of friends just hanging out.
Couple of
What
buddies.
is better? What is better than that? All right.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
Monster Handler Matt and Monster Handler Tyson, are you ready to answer some of these community questions we've got here today?
Heck yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We are going to start with some Twitter questions. Our first one coming from user Fred Burr, who wants to know, how would a spirit and a Monculus interact when not joining in the shanty song? Would it be like a discoverer and discovery dynamic? Spirit being curious about the world around it, and Monculus being one of the first prototype of singing monsters?
An excellent question, Fred Burr. I think you've pretty much nailed how that interaction would go. Spirit always seeking to learn more about the world around it, and Monculus sort of being like, basically it's like a walking artifact, or it's like like almost something that would like belong in a museum, but it has a life of its own. It's very cool. I know that when Monculus came out right at the top of Months of the Mythical, that was it was great to see the community being so enthralled with Monculus, because we think Monculus is really cool, and we were so glad to know that people thought that Monculus was very cool as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the important thing to remember about the Spirit and Monculus dynamic is that Spirit, being the kind of inquisitive monster that it is, would definitely maybe sometimes overstep in terms of how much it would want to know about Monculus, perhaps even trying to collect a sample of the plasmic form of Crystallium, and that might not be a very wise thing to do. Not only would that be rude, but who knows, that might actually cause some sort of systems failure on Monculus itself. So spur it, slow your roll, spur it. You gotta be considerate of your other monsters, and especially Monculus. So.
All right.
Yeah. Nailed it, I'd say.
Perfect. What a great question. Ghostly Cats wants to know, some monster bios mention hiding from predators. Does this mean some monsters are predators and others are prey?
An excellent question, and one that has been rattling around the minds of many community members over the years. I can confirm that in what must be a great piece of relieving news for people, there are no predators stalking around the monster world.
Thank goodness. Thank Alvana.
Thank Alvana, but that doesn't stop monsters from playing pretend that they are either the predator or the prey in sort of make-believe contrived scenarios.
Maybe we know an epic Maw situation.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Maw there, Tyson, because the rare Maw specifically considers itself to be quite the proficient hunter, and its prey is cupcakes. Now, no one wants to let the rare Maw know that the cupcakes can't actually run away, or that the cupcakes don't know that they're being eaten because they are inanimate objects, but no one wants to really spoil the rare Maw's fun. So when there are described relationships of predator and prey, oftentimes it's sort of an imagined scenario just to keep things fresh and exciting on behalf of the monsters. But there are no creatures walking around eating singing monsters, or singing monsters aren't eating, the critters or anything like that. That would be traumatizing. So no, that doesn't happen. Phew.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that. I know the community is probably also very relieved to hear that as well.
Yeah.
Tree Squid would like to know, we all know the vessels on Amber Island are infused with the spirit of the fire monsters, but how did this happen?
How did those essences come to be formatted as those vessels? Well, I don't want to give too much information away at this point, because it could well be that a future creator experience decoration that is scheduled to arrive in September alongside the other creator experience decorations may actually go a ways towards answering that question. So we'll circle back to that one maybe in September for anniversary month, but I think that the answer will become clear at that time.
Perfect. Very exciting. Is-a-rat1234 would like to know, does Whizbang get jealous when it sees someone using real fireworks?
I think Whizbang probably thinks that it's the real fireworks, and that the fireworks that you see in the human world are sort of chemical imitations of what can be considered the pure firework experience, which is that Whizbang can conjure itself. The specific anatomy of Whizbang is interesting. Of course, we know that it is a transformed globe, right? It's a globe that sort of sought to reinvent itself as a singing monster, because, as we know, globes are flashy but mute, a mute race of creatures. And sort of the hard-shelled, sort of bulb-like qualities of the globe seem to have been replaced by this sort of cloud-like anatomy for the Whizbang, but I think it's that same cloud anatomy that helps it to transform itself into what we might call fireworks, and then sort of reform after the fireworks have dissipated back into its recognizable Whizbang monster form. So I don't think Whizbang gets jealous or upset when it sees other fireworks. I think that it truly, in the spirit of sky painting, which of course is an upcoming seasonal event, and we don't know yet what island it's going to be celebrated on. I know that there are lots of theories circulating around, and there are some very good, well-supported theories out there. But when sky painting eventually does get celebrated, I think you'll find that the spirit of Whizbang is that if someone else is doing their thing and they're happy to do it, it doesn't make any sense to be jealous of them or to come after them for it. Just live and let live and be happy and cooperate and take care of your fellow monsters.
What a wonderful sentiment. I love that. That is heartwarming. Jazzy XT would like to know, how do monsters travel between islands? Is it possible for two monsters from different dimensions, such as the pocket dimension and the higher plane, for example, to exist together on one island? Or is it possible for all monsters to exist on one island?
Information overload. I don't think it's possible for all monsters to exist on one island. I think that even back during the era of Dawn of Fire, when there were lots and lots of natural and fire monsters cohabiting on the prehistoric continent, that this is speculation at this time, but maybe the learning after the continent broke apart into the natural islands is that maybe it makes sense to sort of have smaller communities, more numerous smaller communities, rather than piling everybody onto one area. The other challenge, of course, with so many monsters in one place, is that song, if they were all to contribute to one song, would just be a huge song, perhaps even cacophonous in scale. Just so many different parts playing at once, or it would be so long that monsters might forget to sing, or they wouldn't know what was going on, or they'd get disoriented. I know I would get disoriented. To answer an earlier part of the question about monsters from different areas of the monster world or different aspects of the monster world interacting, like a monster from the pocket dimension communicating with a monster of the higher plane. The higher plane certainly seems like it's kind of a one-way trajectory from the main dimension of the monster world. The pocket dimension is sort of shares that same experience, but I don't know if there's a bridge there between pocket and higher plane. Certainly the fact that no magicals or ethereals can belong on Gold Island, for example, the first at least the first that was known to us in the higher plane, might go a ways towards explaining how certain monsters have to sort of stick to their home habitat, so to speak.
Of course. Well, I think that Monster Handler Tyson has some questions pulled from Facebook. So maybe you can ask a few questions of the wonderful Monster Handler Matt.
Of course. I mean, if you allowed me to.
You sounded like a Wubbox there. You sounded like a rare Wubbox. It sounded like a... I don't know if it was just me.
Did I? Oh, shoot. Okay.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so from either Joven or Joven, Killpack, was Amber Island created as a failsafe for the Cataclysm that ended the Dawn of Fire alongside Tribal Island and the Colosseum?
Was it created as a failsafe? I think that the Colossal, the Fire Colossal, if you want to term it that, of Amber Island, didn't necessarily... It couldn't predict the future. It couldn't see that far ahead, but perhaps because of a great fondness for fire elementals and for the special place that fire occupied in the creation of the monster world, in its genesis, I think it was sort of almost like what could be viewed as a side project. It was a very fortuitous side project, as it turns out, because it did end up kind of working like a failsafe to, in case the element of fire and all of its representative monsters were ever threatened in the main reality. At minimum, there would be this sort of seed vault protectionist area where those fire monster species could one day arise again and repopulate the main dimension. I can't remember if I have mentioned this before, but of course I've got my ancient stitch-skin bound tome here, and what is something that I have discovered recently as I took a closer look at some of the Aramonic inscriptions therein is that the colossals of both Gold Island and Amber Island have something in common, and that's that. And this is a very rudimentary translation, and so take it with a grain of salt, but it sort of seems like the Colossal of Gold Island is sometimes, in some context, referred to as the King Colossal, and the Colossal of Amber Island as the Queen Colossal. Now, I don't know if this means that they actually represent any form of like leadership among the Colossals, or if those were just sort of code names that they were given. It certainly would go a ways towards explaining the fact that both have crowns after a fashion. Gold Island's, a far more traditional looking crown, and Amber Island's one's that's a little bit more, organic and naturally inspired. But the fact that we can call it the Fire Colossal or the Queen Colossal, the Colossal of Amber Island, the fact that it undertook that preservation of the fire monsters is a great thing, because now we have a chance to see all the fire monsters in one place doing their thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Next question from Matthew Tennant II. Pong Ping is shown to be excellent at ping pong and making music with its paddles. So is Pong Ping good at games like tennis and badminton?
Tennis, less so. Badminton, more so. As explained in My Singing Monsters bio, one of the things that it enjoys undertaking is cross-island marathons or treks. Now, of course, because of Pong Ping's vermiform shape, that means shaped like a worm, because of its vermiform shape, it doesn't actually get around very quickly, which is why ping pong is sort of its optimal sport. It enjoys all fitness and all sports, I think, but the more movement is required in the sport, the less proficient at it. So, Tyson, you might actually be well served to, before Pong Ping returns to the Monster World as part of the Monster Exchange program, challenge to tennis, because you might have the advantage there, because Pong Ping might not be able to move around the court quite as easily as a human might.
Right.
The fact that ping pong is at a much smaller table, and that Pong Ping can reach more easily, gives it the advantage in that state.
Right. I was going to ask, do you think, or probably you already answered the question that I was going to ask before, though, would it try to do some volleyball? Because that's also a sport where you have to go over a net with a ball, but doesn't have paddles, so maybe
the hands are the paddles in that
game. If Pong Ping plays volleyball the way I played volleyball in high school, which is to stand in your position and never actually go for the ball and just let it sort of land nearby you and go, I'm sorry, I couldn't leave my position. Then maybe that would not work out for it. But if it could stretch and reach to make sure that it
use its cheeks to
sort of like a
yeah, exactly. And I think that would really rocket the ball over the net even more.
Especially if it sort of caught the ball in the cavity and then popped it out. Yes.
Excellent demonstration.
We'll have to see. I would love to see in a future Monsterpiece a Pong Ping playing volleyball.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I'd love to see which monsters it had selected as its opposing team as well.
Awesome. All right. Next question. From Jessica Rose Pendergrass. How do the mines affect the ecology of the islands of the monsters? On the islands of the monsters.
This is a good question, and it is something that we also became aware of early in our interactions with the monster world as well. Initially, what is now called the Maximum Mine was the main mine that was available on the islands that we first explored in this sort of latest batch of monster handling interactions with the monster world. But that was downgraded to the mini mine in order to have less of an ecological impact. The monsters take very good care of their natural world as best as they're able to do.
Always looks lush.
It does.
Yes, they are an excellent example to try and follow. They take much better care of their world than we do of ours, and so the mini mine actually is not as ecologically destructive as you may think, especially because the areas where they are mining for those diamonds are sort of, how shall I put this, managed perhaps on a subconscious level by the fact that they are colossals, right? And the fact that the colossals have imbued their spirits into the land masses of the islands and to try and make sure that they are intact. And now for those islands that are titans instead, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to perturb titans, and maybe they also have naturally occurring diamonds inside of their rings. Maybe it's like, maybe diamonds are like connected to some kind of like world intelligence or something in the monster world, and the fact that they're related. Now, of course, I have mentioned before that the celestial syncopite, being the celestial crystal, was one of the first to learn and develop diamonds' specific magical time bending qualities. So maybe there's more to diamonds there than just the powers that they can grant in terms of a manipulation of time. Maybe they have some sort of underlying intelligence or something that might
some unlocked potential.
Indeed.
Oh,
interesting.
Last question from Facebook, from Jacob Van Buskirk. Why does baby Ma have one giant top tooth, but every other Ma has only bottom teeth?
I feel like you're the best person to ask this, Monster Handler Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Why, is that a comment about my teeth, Jen?
No!
I'm kidding. Why is that the case? That's just how Ma's develop. As in their monsterling form during the era of Dawn of Fire, they must sort of clamp on to food as so in order to consume it, to get sort of a handle on it, having no hands themselves, and then larger when they're more fully grown in their adult form. Ma's have to worry less about being smaller than the food that they're trying to eat. Ma's are quite a bit bigger in their adult form, so the bottom teeth that they have replace the top tooth. It's over the course of its life, sort of like, you know, a caterpillar's body meets different needs than a butterfly's body at different stages in its life. The different teeth fill different roles.
Now, I also have a theory, maybe, where if the top tooth, because a Ma, if it's a baby, then, you know, babies, they can't move as well as adults can. What if they use
I prefer if you use the term monsterling, Tyson.
Monsterling. I'm sorry.
Only because that was a community term that we accepted and canonized.
Yes. So when a monsterling Ma needs to possibly use that giant front tooth to get more traction when it like digs into the ground to like drag itself, and then as it grows up, it can more maneuver its body a little bit more. So that's just a theory for me. I don't know.
I think that that's a great theory because it connects. It's supported by logic and sense. Yeah. I love that theory. I love any theories that are supported by logic.
Perfect.
Monster Handler Tyson, would you like to continue on with some of our Instagram questions? I think you're doing a great job.
Ooh.
Oh, thank you, everyone. You know, it's great to be here. Now, Instagram now. User catmom of2.
Oh, wonderful.
And we've already kind of touched upon this slightly.
Did.
Does Pong Ping play other sports?
Yes, it does. But it is most proficient at ping pong, I would say. Any sport where you, like, for example, Pong Ping might also be very good at darts because you can just stand there.
Ooh, maybe
and throw the darts.
Curling as well, because curling you're kind of just sliding.
Yes, and the ice can sort of, you know, help the fact that the body is not necessarily the fastest moving one in the first place. You can sort of shuffle along the ice, slide along the ice.
Okay. I assume they would be awesome at croquet as well. Mini golf, so many potential.
Yes, anyone that where it's reliant on like accuracy from a standing position.
Okay.
Those are where Pong Ping excels.
So it would be great at baseball. However, when it came to running the bases, it would not be
It would have to sub in. It would have to sub in another. It would have to be cooperating. It would be one team member alongside another fast-running monster.
Okay, perfect. So next question is from Evan is cool 1221. After the Outer Islands disappeared, did the Celestials turn into After the Outer Islands disappeared, did the Celestials turn into stone, or was that something that happened before they disappeared? Wow.
I believe it's something that happened after the Outer Islands disappeared, because the timeline that we're operating on, that we have the most archaeological evidence for, is that the Cataclysm struck the continent around the same time the Outer Islands vanished, got swallowed up, gone, and that sort of disrupted Starhenge's connection to the world below. Now, Starhenge, possessed of its own sort of internal energy systems, having been constructed by the Colossals, was able to run for a while longer and still remained in orbit, but over time it lost power. And so that is, I think, what ultimately led to the petrification of the Celestials, and then their revival led to them beginning their life cycle anew.
Right. Okay. Very interesting. Next question. From Andrew Jackson 1649, and I love this question. If you could choose to be in any island for a day, what island would you choose and why?
I'm going to ask this of you two as well in a second.
Okay. I already got my answer.
I think that one of the coolest islands to be on would be Ethereal Island. Because it's
Tell us why.
everything would be so new. There would be, you would look at a tree and expect it to behave like a tree, but then it might wave at you, or it might shrink down into the ground. It might move around. You know what I mean? Ethereal Island, as the earliest island created by the Colossals, has just like so many unfinished ideas and like unusual areas on it, like the Ethereal Meadow that overlapped with the Thumpyverse and brought in part of the mountain morsel looking terrain. There's so much. It's so unusual. It's like a microcosm of all of the Colossals' creations sort of down in one particular sandboxy place. I think that would make it an excellent place to visit. Cool. Tyson, you said you had your answer ready to go. Did. Where would you like to go?
I would go to Seasonal Shanty because I want to see the operation they got going there. Because unlike other islands that you're kind of just chilling, you're kind of you're just living there. Seasonal Shanty got an operation. Jamboree has got a good schedule going for the other seasonals and when they have to leave and when they have to come back and stuff like that. So I just want to see this well-kept ship. I want to see this well-kept machine that they are running here, and I just want to see the operations. Plus, I love the music there.
Nice. It's kind of like a cruise ship. You're right. Yeah. That sounds like it would be very relaxing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jen, how about you?
Well, for me, I think I answered in a previous My Singing Monsters Live that my favorite island song was Plant Island. And I have to say that I would love to go to Plant Island because it is my favorite song and I want to partake in the vocals of that island.
Ooh.
And I want to hang out with my good pals Mama and Furcorn. So it's got a special place in my heart. So a special place in my heart.
Of course. I don't think I would do well there because of my allergies.
Oh, very true. Yeah, you probably wouldn't be a good idea for you.
I'll
go and take pictures for you.
Mind you, who knows if their plants were allergic to their plants as well? Who knows?
An experiment.
Yeah, you'd have to be careful though, right? Because Vivain is on Seasonal Shanty, and it kicks up quite a bit of pollen. Its wingling dragon is always sneezing.
Oh, I think we're going to be both sneezing.
You might have to ask Vivain to keep a respectful distance.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I'll remember that. Next question. Sorry, I forgot I was reading that. From Kitty Like Me, during the continent split and Outer Island disappearance, what happened to all the prismatics? Did they go into extinction, or went into hiding?
Oh.
I think if I had to guess, hiding. Certainly, if the theory is to be believed that the outer islands were swallowed up by the prism gates, as all archaeological evidence points to that, I think, if I had to guess, that all of the inhabitants of those islands became permanent residents of the world beyond the prism gates. Now, there might be a few that managed to escape or were sort of off island or just sort of outside of the island when the prism gates swallowed them up. There might have been a few stragglers, a few stowaways that might have stuck around in the monster world. Yeah, slipped through the cracks, like you said, so to speak. But we don't really have any evidence of any of those happening just yet. So that is one of the enduring mysteries of the monster world, that we don't really know exactly what became of all of them. But if I had to guess, they did not go extinct. I think that they are probably just somewhere else.
Okay.
Ooh, interesting.
I think we have time for one more question, Monster Handler Tyson. If you could be so kind.
Sure. It is from Lion Roar number 74. What caused the Celestials to turn to stone and have to be reborn as babies? Did they retain the memories of their Dawnfire selves?
Since we already tackled sort of part one of that question, I'm gonna focus on part two. Do they retain the memories of their former selves? I think now, any time that I've attempted to interview a Celestial, they always sort of speak very cryptically. They like to sort of toy with us humans. Them being sort of like, these primordial beings possessed of their elemental affiliations, and us mere mortal humans.
It's a fun game for them. They're probably bored, right?
Yes, so whenever I interview, they give sort of misleading or contradictory answers, but in all the interviews that I've had, it sort of seems like they have faint recollections of their past lifetimes, but it's almost like experiencing deja vu or like a dream state where you're sort of convinced for a while that it happened, but then you're like, I don't really know if that actually happened. So, for example, all of the Celestials that are currently revived on Celestial Island in the contemporary monster world, they sort of have this like sense of childlike wonder and innocence and mischief, mind you.
Yes, lots of mischief.
But there's somewhere perhaps lurking somewhere deep in their psyches a recollection of all that had come before. Maybe they just need to sort of mature over time and sort of regain some of those memories, or maybe they'll just forge new memories in this new the stage of their lives. Who knows?
Well, I'm very excited to announce that it is, drumroll please, time for question of the show.
Question of the show.
All right, so today's question of the show winner will be receiving a rare or epic of their choosing from the Loud and Proud promo that is happening right now.
Ooh, yeah.
So a big congratulations to Diana_Memories of Twitter, who wants to know, what is the name of the new seasonal group that comes after the core seasonals? A great question.
An excellent question, and one that we have not answered up until now, but I am going to announce it.
Here we go.
Okay.
The core seasonals are comprised, as we know, of Punkleton, Yule, Schmoochel, Blabbin, Hula. The remaining group, which is made up of Gobblegord, Jamboree, Clavifera, Carolong, Fiddle, Devane, Spirit, Monculus, Whizbang, and a final 10th, which has yet to be discovered, are called the Aux seasonals. That's AUX, short for auxiliary. Now, the reason that we chose this name is not only does auxiliary sort of serve as a good descriptor for these other seasonals, but it's also sort of an inside joke from a music standpoint because it refers to an aux cable a cable which connects two different pieces of machinery or equipment. So because these are the seasonals that sort of exist around the core seasonals, they are the connective tissue between. They are the aux seasonals, the AUX period seasonals.
Well, you heard it here first, everybody. Aux seasonals. That is what that group is called. Thank you for finally answering the community's question, Monster Handler Matt. So
I know it's been rattling around for a while, and now we finally have an answer.
Well, congratulations once again to Diana Memories. Thank you so much for your question. And remember that for the next My Singing Monsters Live, you can have your question chosen for the question of the show to win a pretty awesome prize in-game. And now it is time for my other favorite segment, the Monsterpiece Showcase. That's right.
My first one. I'm excited.
It's your first one, Monster Handler Tyson. So just as a reminder to the community, if you make and create any of your own My Singing Monsters fan art, make sure to hashtag Monsterpiece and My Singing Monsters for your chance to be featured in our Monsterpiece Showcase. So let's take a look at what we've got here. The very first beautiful work of art here is an awesome sort of crossover between Cuphead and we have a Wubbox here. Ooh. Beautiful, created by Wowie Eyes. And they have also created this beautiful, another Cuphead crossover with Theramine instead of the giant carrot. And I think that they've done a fabulous job.
Yes, they've nailed the art style.
Yes,
I think that this
sure.
Maybe they'll have to make an appearance on the Cuphead Netflix show or something like that.
We go.
Maybe we'll sneak them in as a cameo or something. That'd be cool. But yeah, cool. These are wonderful Wowie Eyes. Well done.
They really capture the style.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Which is really cool to see.
Next up, we have this really awesome sculpture creative Pong Ping from Mr. Tring. And I love the actual physical art. When physical art is created to depict the monsters. I love this. I want one for my own display here at home, personally.
And I think the coolest part of this is that much like the kinds of figurines that you might collect as an adult, there are interchangeable pieces here.
Yes!
There are the deflated cheek sacks, and then there are the inflated cheek sacks. I love it, Mr. Train. What a great job. I will be sure to share this with the designer of Pong Ping because they love seeing the fan art that is made of their monsters. This was this artist's first designed monster.
Well, they're gonna love this then.
And I think they nailed it. I think Pong Ping is a perfect addition to the monster world, and it's so great that people are making art of it. Wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's a hit. It's a hit.
Next up, we have these beautiful representation of gas from Dorky Dot. Love it.
I love it. It's got some elegance to it. You know.
Yes.
Especially
the faces,
rare gas.
Mm-hmm. The faces of the ghasts sort of give them almost like an equine quality. They almost look like they're like not quite cat-like, but more horse-like. And I think that's really neat. Yeah. Some perhaps more so than others, but I just love the fact that it's like a reinterpretation of them, and I love seeing the different varieties interacting one with the other. Reminds me of our Pocket Dial promotional trailer for Magical Sanctum.
We also have this awesome drawing of Whizbang in a couple of different poses from Ryle's art. And I love how much Whizbang art we've been seeing. It's so wonderful.
I know. And Whizbang only came out, 8 days ago kind of thing? It's shocking how much the volume of Whizbang art that we've received. But obviously, we are so thrilled that the community has embraced Whizbang and everything that it brings and represents for the monster world. We were very excited to bring this one to My Singing Monsters.
And this is adorable, honestly. So adorable.
We also have Tiawa, an upright Tiawa from Attic Salt.
Upright Tiawa? Oh my goodness. What? This is a viewpoint that I've never thought I'd see of a Tiawa. You know what? I always figured that Tiawa it's an excellent drawing. I always figured that Tiawa would sort of remain ground bound, but now I wonder if it can rear up just like this, just like as seen in this Attic Salt drawing. And this is an adult Tiawa. Very cool. Very cool.
We also have all of the scups here lined up in a row from Treble Stroke, and I think the detail is just impeccable in this drawing.
I love that, yeah.
There's a cool texture. Yeah, there's a cool texture. I don't know if they were painted on a canvas or something.
I want to like feel it.
Yeah, they look great.
Feel it, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
We also have another Whizbang with Rare Wubbox from Chamois Show. So colorful, so beautiful. They look so happy. Nice, just a couple buds hanging out, you know?
Just a couple buds. Can't get worse than that, you know?
Can't get worse than that, you're right.
Can't get worse than that.
I think you can't get better, I think, maybe.
Yes, that's what I meant, yeah.
Yes, no, this is wonderful. Well done, Chamois Show. Nice to see Whizbang, welcomed so warmly by other monsters.
Absolutely. We also have another Rare Wubbox, but this time hanging out with Hula from Kongle Enjoyer. And they're just another couple of pals. Look at all these pals.
Oh. Fist bump. Yes. Now there's Hula. Now, of course, this is a good time to be taking a look at Hula because it's still a few weeks away, but we know that Summer Song is just around the corner. Yes, it's going to be our next seasonal event in My Singing Monsters. So
and it looks like Rare Wubbox
a good time to start
excited.
thinking. Very excited. It's a good time to start thinking about Hula. Yes.
And last but not least, we have Spirit yelling huzzah from SSB and Harmonic. And I thought this was a great way to end off our monster pieces today.
Look at those knobby knees. And you know what? I thought for a second that was leg hair on one of Spirit's legs, but no, it's just the artist's signature.
I was actually, good thing you said that. I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just like, oh, there's leg hair there.
But I took a closer. Thankfully, I took a closer look. But you know what? It would be like Spirit to shave one leg and not the other in the interests of in the pursuit of science.
It's true,
right? Exactly. How quickly does Spirit hair grow? That would be something to document in one of its many journals.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you to everybody who submitted monster pieces to be showcased in this month's My Singing Monsters Live. And once again, if you want your art to be featured on the next installment, please use the hashtag Monsterpiece and My Singing Monsters for your chance to be showcased. Now, since we are coming up to the end of our MSM Live today, Monster Handler Matt, do you have any housekeeping you'd like to take care of? Any sort of announcements that you'd like to share with the community?
I have two announcements. First announcement is, now that we have all of the winning traits for our Cold Island Mythical, we can get started on its design. Thank you so much to everybody who contributed, who voted in every single poll. We now have all of those aspects of it, all the winning traits that we need to incorporate into our monster. We're going to get started on that. I know that at the art print live stream that we did on Tuesday, we were saying maybe it might be cool to sort of show some in progress early shots of us concepting out that monster. We'll sort of keep the community posted if we decide to move ahead with that. That's going to be coming up in the next little bit. So stay tuned to social media for that. But thanks again to everybody who voted on that. The other item, the other piece of business that I wanted to mention to everybody is we've got a new wave of Amber Island monsters coming next week.
Pew, pew, pew.
Wave 6. Now, this wave is going to be a little different than past waves because after an action-packed, chock-full, brand new content-heavy month of the Mythical, we are taking a bit of a hiccup, a breather for this next wave, and it will not feature any new Dawn of Fire crossover monsters. It will instead feature 3 different monsters that are already present in My Singing Monsters. But my dog agrees that this is exciting news.
Very excited.
Zora thinks this is wonderful. But the trade-off here, there's 2 trade-offs. First trade-off is I think that all 3 of the monsters that are coming to Amber Island next week in Wave 6 are awesome. will be bangers. Are highly requested, have been some highly requested monsters that are all coming in Wave 6. And this means that eventually in Wave 7, which is going to arrive during Summer Song, there are going to be 2 new Dawn of Fire crossover monsters in Wave 7. So it's all going to work itself out, but we wanted to sort of shift things around because we heard some people saying that they thought, for example, that Pong Ping sounded a little lonely in that one section on Amber Island. So it won't be lonely for too much longer, I can assure you. And we wanted to make sure that this Summer Song rocked and had 2 new monsters from Dawn of Fire coming in. So adjust your expectations accordingly, because next week's Wave 6 will be monsters that already exist in my singing monsters.
But they're going to be banged.
But they're gonna rock. I think.
They're going to be great.
All 3 of them people are gonna be like, yeah, adds a lot to that section. Oh man, I never even knew that I wanted that part in that section. It all sounds good. It's all gonna come together, and it's gonna be a wonderful time. So that's what I wanted to say. Those are my pieces of business that I wanted to share with everybody.
Well, I would like to thank you, Monster Handler Matt, as always, for answering all of our questions with your plethora of knowledge, and a special thank you to Monster Handler Tyson, who I believe will be continuing to join us for My Singing Monsters Live, which I am very excited about.
Yeah, I think I'll stick around.
It's great to have it's great to have the conversation, right? We can sort of bounce different ideas, answer different Monster Handler questions with each other. It's a great thing.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much to everybody who came out and watched. We will see you next month for the July installment of My Singing Monsters Live. And I would just like to say, Happy
Monstering!